Going to hear some activity in the background. If you're watching, are we up? Are we up? Are we good? We're getting there. Okay, so we're up. So if you're watching on YouTube TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, you'll see in the background we've got the beautiful stage set up here at City Winery for the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards dinner. It is a very special occasion and one that I've been honored to be a part of. I guess this is my now 4th year being a part of this event, and it's an honor every year to get to be in a room with so many wonderful patriots, veterans, those that served, and to honor those that serve, are serving, have served, and those who cannot be here because they sacrificed all. And we're going to talk about all of those things as the show progresses today. Obviously, honoring and celebrating our veterans is particularly poignant today, considering that today is September 11th. And this day has two specific, and maybe more if I thought about it long enough, but two specific ways to remember today. The primary way being obviously 9/11 of 2001. Been 24 years. Somewhere between September 11th of 2001 and now, I became an old man, and that's how time goes, right? Time is undefeated. But for those of us of a certain age, we certainly remember that day. I was speaking on air earlier today with a good friend of mine, Doug Amos, who is a sportscaster down in Montgomery, Alabama. I was in Montgomery, Alabama, broadcasting on WACV on September 11th, 2001. I did an afternoon show, but I also, and Jackson, you should listen up because you don't believe I paid my dues, but I did. I got up in the morning. This is what I did at WACV on September 11th and for every day that I was working there, right? So I would get up in the morning at 5 a.m. I would go to work. I did a news hour from 6 until 7. I screened telephones and did the news between 7 and 11 a.m. That was 7 to 9 was a sports show, and 9 to 11 was a political show, the Don Markwell show. And then I got a lunch break, and then I would come back and do my radio show from 4 until 6 in the afternoon. So I did a little bit of a split shift. Well, obviously, we never went off air on that day because I was in the newsroom screening calls for the sports show and gathering news together to do a bottom of the hour news cast when we recognized, and it was funny, we were talking today because every year Doug Amos and I get together either on his show or my show, and we kind of reminisce because most of us who were around during that time, we remember exactly where we were, we remember exactly what we were doing, we remember exactly who we were doing it with, and you need to hold on to those memories, right? We need to remember the realities of that day in order to never repeat that day. That said, Doug and I were watching, I had a small box television. Flat screen TVs didn't exist at that time. Social media wasn't a thing on 9/11 of 2001, right? Twitter didn't exist. Facebook, I don't think Facebook existed in 2001. If it did, it was way in its infancy, but I don't even think it existed. Maybe MySpace or something like that. But bottom line was this. There were no social media platforms to get information out like that, and you relied on radio communication, and you relied on television news. And it was a television broadcast in a big box television that was in the newsroom, and there was another larger box television in the studio. And we saw this report that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. And like many of you, like so many Americans, like millions of Americans who saw this initial thing, you're like, oh my goodness, a small plane? What happened? Did the pilot have some sort of medical emergency? My goodness gracious, that looks awful. That's going to be horrible. Hopefully everyone's okay. And I remember this because Doug said, we were talking on air, he said, my goodness gracious, some idiot, some knucklehead flew into the tower. And I said, hold on a second. It looks like CBS is about to replay it. Because I said, CBS is replaying it. I saw a plane coming in, and then the realization hit, wait a minute. One tower's already on fire, and there's another plane. This is a new plane. And it was at that second, that moment, a slow realization washes over you of the most horrific fashion that we are being attacked. We're under attack. And from there, the rest of the day was an absolute blur on air from 7 a.m. that morning to 8 p.m. that night. I recall that there were concerns about, obviously, when Shanksville happened. That was heading toward the White House. We were concerned about Washington, D.C. The Pentagon attack happened. We were concerned about Sears Tower. I remember distinctly on September 11, 2001, getting an AP report, and we still had the old dot matrix printer back then, where the reports you could print, they would print out, and then you rip them off. That's where rip and read, the term rip and read came from. And I remember the dot matrix printer printing out that it is believed a plane was heading toward the Willis Tower or the Sears Tower in Chicago, Illinois, and being fearful that a plane was in the air heading toward Chicago and one of the major buildings there. But we're going to remember today. Obviously, we'll take your telephone calls all afternoon long, not just about that, but we're also remembering Charlie Kirk on the day after the horrific news. And I think, frankly, this will be a seminal moment in American history as well, because I think it presents a sea change in terms of attitude of what we will and will not accept in public discourse. And I am not shying away from what I said yesterday. As a matter of fact, I'm going to double down on it. I don't see the types of celebrations from the political right when someone on the political left dies. I don't see the types of celebrations that I'm seeing from the political left on social media yesterday and today. These two things are not equal. And so to suggest this nonsense, everyone needs to cool off, everyone needs to calm down, everyone needs to watch what they say. I would suggest to you the political left are the people that need to do all of those things. That I believe that most of us on the right or on as libertarians or whatever, that we are very grounded and centered as to what is appropriate political discourse and what is inappropriate political discourse. And I'm not going to back down from that position because the evidence proves me right. And I have a mountain of it that I can present to you today that demonstrate that what I'm saying to you is right. Examples right here in the state of Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State University, the assistant dean was fired last night because she was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. There's a professor at East Tennessee State University that is on administrative leave because she couldn't help herself, or he, I don't know which. They couldn't help themselves, and they made inappropriate comments. I've got another example from Cumberland. What is up with these college professors, these holier-than-thou, I'm smarter than you college professors that cannot help themselves but to get on social media and demonstrate what absolute monstrous ghouls they are? You wish death on someone who has a different political position than you. And if you are under the misguided position that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi or wished death on other people, you are wrong. And you have been getting your information from poor sources. And you ought to get better information before you make an ass of yourself. All right. So before I get too much on get my rant pants on, I want to back off from it. So we're out at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project Patriot Awards dinner. Just to kind of signpost for you a little bit, let you know where we're going and how we're getting there. We will be live until 6 o'clock tonight, and we are hopeful that we'll get an opportunity. Sadly, some of the security apparatus that has had to change over the last 24 hours has necessitated some schedule changes amongst the people that we were planning on interviewing. And look, we're all a family, and so I need to pull back some of that. That is not on our end. We're all good on our end from Super Talk's end. And I want to actually say something. I want to thank publicly the people that we work for. Obviously Charlie Kirk was a huge name. Matt Murphy's not a huge name. I'm a very, very small fish. Chris Hand is a slightly bigger fish. Dan Mandis, slightly bigger fish. Chad Benson, slightly bigger fish. I'm not a big fish at all. But we are in the same pond, right, as the huge fish that was Charlie Kirk, if you get my analogy, right? We swim in these same waters. We lay ourselves out there. I speak to people all the time, on phone, via email, via text message, and in person, that don't like me very much, right? So with that in mind, we are sensitive to the radicalization of certain people, especially online, that feel that they are somehow empowered to commit these heinous, evil, violent acts. And with that in mind, the team at Cumulus got engaged. Yeah, without going into too much detail, I just want to thank the people, our bosses locally and nationally, that are like, listen, we've got your back. We believe in what you do. We will never cower. We will never bow down. We will never stop advancing forward and doing what we're doing because of fear. And it's the last damn thing that I'm going to do. But we were asked yesterday, hey, I was asked directly by two different people that work in management at our company locally, do you want to do the event? Do you want to pull the plug? And I said, absolutely not. I'm there. And I'm like, my attitude, and not that it ever got to this, is, look, y'all have got decisions that y'all got to make, but I'm going to be at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Patriot Awards dinner tomorrow night starting at 3 o'clock. I don't know where y'all are. But everybody was on the same page. But obviously, from our standpoint and from the standpoint of some of the people that are going to be here tonight, security changes. You've just got to make sure that you're dotting your I's and you're crossing your T's, and everything that you need to be happening appropriately is happening. So that changes our schedule a little bit. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to have John Tigan on, also known as Tig, who is an absolute Benghazi hero. I'm hopeful that we will have Mark Geist on, a.k.a. Oz. He was also a part of the tactical team, security team there at the Annex on that fateful day, September 11th, 2012, into September 12th, 2012. We don't know exactly when those guys are going to get in. So we're a little fluid on that. I believe we've got Representative Jeremy Faison on at 3:35 today, and Jackson, I'll get you and I'll get Bell that contact info, because he's going to talk about some of the professors here in the state of Tennessee that are getting the boot, rightly so, over their comments regarding the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So I know that. And thirdly, also up in the air, I've been in contact with Representative Andy Ogles, who is in the air right now, literally. He is flying back to Nashville. Andy said that he would be, he's going to be landing, sometime right before 4 o'clock. And if possible, he's going to stop by our facility here at the City Winery. He's got an event later on tonight, but he said he lands just before 4. If you've not heard, Andy was one of the individuals, or I think the individual, that has nominated Charlie Kirk posthumously to receive the Congressional Gold Medal, which is the highest award that can be given to a civilian by Congress. Obviously, the President of the United States announced that Charlie Kirk would posthumously be given the Congressional Medal of Freedom, which is a presidential award. Congress offers the Congressional Gold Medal, and already Representative Andy Ogles has introduced that resolution to give that medal to Charlie Kirk posthumously. So hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about that today. Plus, it's my understanding that Andy, he and I were going back and forth discussing the possibility of holding some sort of event in Nashville. He called it the Never Back Down Rally. I like the name. I like the idea. We have been talking about that, an effort to, bring some the country music folks that we have in Nashville, Tennessee, and some other folks, maybe members of Congress, together. And I don't want to say too much. I don't want to get ahead of my skis. I don't want to, get ahead of the parade here. But Andy's working on that, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him. So he's either going to stop by or he's going to be on phone a little bit later on. All that to say that the show here, and if you're coming tonight, come and say hello to me and let's shake hands or hug necks or whatnot. But the show tonight starts, doors open I think at 5 or 5:30. 5:30, I think. But the show starts at 6. Yes, it does. I'm going to, Kirby. Well, Mr. Corley. What does Mr. Corley know? He's just the father. One way or the other, the doors in the show, I was told the show starts at 6, but one way or the other, we are not going to be live after 6 o'clock. But what we're going to do is we're going to re-rack, as we say in the business, offer you, for those who missed it, the 3 o'clock hour from yesterday. Hard listen? Yes. It was hard to do. It was hard to talk about. But we didn't know a lot that we know today, but the immediacy of the moment and the aftermath of the moment, I think it bears hearing again. And frankly, we are going to need to listen to and talk about very hard subjects today and tomorrow and for the foreseeable future in this country. If this is where we at, if you have a subgroup of people, a subgroup of a political subgroup that seems willing, ready, and able through mental illness or whatever to commit acts of political violence against their perceived enemies who seem to only be there to speak and to offer opinion, then we've got some hard discussions to have about all of this. Obviously, all afternoon long, we will be taking your telephone calls at 615-737-9986. That's 615-737-9986. Jackson's on site with us, as is Kirby, as is CJ. Hey, CJ. Bell K is back at home base, and I think I just re-signed up for the StreamYard, Bell, so I ought to be able to see you there and see the folks on the phones there. So we'll take your calls throughout the course of the afternoon. We got a lot to say about 9/11. We have a lot to say about Charlie Kirk, and everything is moving at such a rapid pace. We need to kind of reset that because there was a press conference scheduled earlier today in Utah that got pushed back. Is Ken Weaver back there at home base, Bell?
How about you?
Hey, Ken. You doing all right?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a 24 hours, hasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it has.
And, it's weird because already this day is a somber day as we remember 9/11,
Well,
obviously.
and that's the thing. I almost completely forgot about that last night.
I know, man. I know. I was reminded when I was talking to Chris Hand. He and I talked a little bit after I got off air. And I'm like, my goodness gracious, tomorrow's 9/11. You just the immediacy of the moment and the breaking news nature of the moment. But if you have anything, like I said yesterday, Ken, obviously I can't see you today, but if you have anything, just jump in here and let me know when we need to know the news. And if you hear anything on that press conference, let me know, Ken, if you
Will
don't
do,
mind.
brother.
Yeah, absolutely. 25 after the hour, just getting underway at Super Talk 99.7 WTN live from City Winery, the Matt Murphy Show. It is the time of year that I said this yesterday, and I think it's well said, if I do say so myself, that when I talk about efficient heating and cooling, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, like my grandma used to say, because on one side of my mouth, I'm telling you, if you're still using your AC, right, it's hot, and if your AC goes out, you got problems, and you don't want to replace the AC, not this time of year. My goodness gracious, we're almost done with the season. You'd like to get that thing fixed if you possibly can and get through the rest of the year. Well, Efficient Heating and Cooling's here for you. Jeff Eddy's here for you. That's one thing to consider. If your AC goes out, you need to do something about it, and Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling, they have the best value around on making that happen. They understand that you're on a budget, and you don't need to spend that money if it can wait until next year. Number two, it's time to maintenance that heater. Get that thing cleaned, make sure that it's operating efficiently. You can go ahead and get that scheduled, whether it's next week or in the next few weeks. They book up this time of year, rightly so, because a lot of you take me up on my advice that it's time to get it maintenance. You'll never pay over $125 with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, no matter where you are, no matter how many units you have, and oftentimes it's a lot less than that. EfficientHVAC.net. EfficientHVAC.net or call 615-784-4424. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Grace Point Healthcare. Affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine. A little bit different than you're accustomed to because they are a direct pay format. That is beneficial for you on two fronts. Number one, you know exactly what you're paying before you get the service. You know, my buddy Jay St. Clair and I said this years ago, and it's true. Healthcare is odd because you don't know what it costs, right? Oftentimes people just know what their copay is. Well, at Grace Point, they've eliminated that. You know exactly what that service is costing you, and you can always file with your insurance company for reimbursement after the fact. Number two, they keep costs lower that way. Number three, I just thought of a third. You don't get the insurance company in the way between you and your doctor. And it never should be that the insurance company dictates treatment, and they don't at Grace Point Healthcare. They treat the whole body with a comprehensive medical approach, getting to the root of the problem and not just treating the symptoms. That's what it's all about, friends. 599-6868, 599-6868. Go to the heart of Franklin and visit my friends at Grace Point. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Charlie Kirk assassination update, and hear from one of the Democrats running in the special 7th Congressional District election coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy live from the City Winery. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project Patriot Awards dinner is tonight, honoring, a couple of honorees. One, Bernie Carrick, who was such a good friend of David Corlew, such a good friend of this event. He came down at least once, if not twice, maybe even three times. Was it three times, Kirby? Three times he was here at this event. Just a big supporter of Charlie's effort and David's effort to bring more awareness and attention to the needs of our veterans returning home. Obviously, we lost Bernie Carrick. He's the former New York City Police Commissioner. He was police commissioner on 9/11, 2001, and he's going to be honored tonight. Also, those individuals at Benghazi that were just treated so poorly in the midst of an attack where they were attempting desperately to get to Ambassador Christopher Stevens and were not allowed to do so. We're going to talk to those guys as well. 615-737-9986 is our telephone number. We're going to give you an opportunity to speak right after Jeremy Faison. And Jeremy Faison is coming up in just a moment, right after the news that's happening now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Charlie Kirk assassination. The search is on for the killer. The FBI and Utah Department of Public Safety suspended a press conference earlier today due to what they say were rapid developments in the case.
The FBI is now offering a $100,000 reward to lead to the arrest of the shooter. It comes after the FBI released clear surveillance images of the man they say is their suspect, showing him with a hat on, sunglasses, and some kind of American flag long-sleeve T-shirt. Sources tell ABC News 3 unspent cartridges were found in the shooter's bolt-action rifle and that they had wording on them expressing what some law enforcement officials described as transgender and anti-fascist ideology on them.
Alex Stone reporting. Meanwhile, today marks 24 years since the September 11th attacks, bells ringing the moment that day when the South Tower fell in New York City. Memorial services, remembrance events nationwide.
Born and raised New Yorker Murda Gashar Jordan is working to honor all of the victims, including her late husband, Rob. She last spoke with him on the phone while he was working on the 92nd floor of the South Tower.
He said, I'll call you when I find out if we're evacuating. And we said our goodbyes, the I love you.
At her local library, Murda has been fundraising to build what will be called the Never Forget 9/11 Memorial. She wants it to be a place to reflect and learn, especially for the younger generation.
Special election 2025. Nashville State Rep Afton Bain is one of the 4 Democrats seeking the 7th congressional district seat, which Mark Green retired from. She tells WTN's Chad Benson Show what separates her from the other Democrats.
I am the only candidate that has never taken corporate PAC money, that has never lobbied on behalf of billionaires and corporations, and nor will take corporate PAC money in this race. Period. End of statement. And I'm the only woman.
Early voting for the primary runs from September 17th to October 2nd. And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Right now, you've got a complete stop and go in places, well, the usual places this time of day trying to get home. Added to that, we've got some scattered showers and thunderstorms dropping some pretty heavy rain. Then we've got a crash on the off-ramp that is partially blocked there, 65 northbound to Old Hickory Boulevard in Madison. In Woodbine, police reporting a crash is blocking the right lane of 440 eastbound at Nolensville Pike. I'm Ken Weaver.
Hey, if you're losing your hair and you need a simple solution, I was just telling Jackson that he needs advanced hair in his life because he's going to pull all of his hair out Saturday afternoon watching my Georgia Bulldogs beat his Tennessee Volunteers. Anyway, if you want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work, let me tell you guys, Advanced Hair Restoration is your place. They've completely redefined hair restoration with experience, with unmatched results, right? If you have a receding hairline, a bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment. In a calm and relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals, Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. Nobody in Nashville can offer anything like Advanced FUE, which is found at Advanced Hair, and I recommend the team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 629-348-HAIR, 629-348-HAIR. If you qualify, you get $250 off and $250 free hair grafts, 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with a team that's redefined hair restoration. AdvancedHair.com, AdvancedHair.com. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Alpha and Omega Computer Consultation. Folks, it's as simple as this. Since they began the company in 1998, the computer industry has changed. I mean, our technologies have changed. We were talking about that a little earlier today, about how much is done online now as opposed to in person. With that, you need to be protected if you're a business owner. If you are in IT in your business, or if you're a business owner and you're concerned about your IT contracts, you need to call Michael and Alpha and Omega. They can help in every aspect of your computer computing, whether it's internally with printers and computers and emails, or if it's externally with cybersecurity. They're going to be your go-to source for all things computing. Alpha and Omega helps you avoid being one of the 14 ransomware attacks that are successful on a daily basis. That's right, you heard me. 14 on a daily basis, and most of those happen to small and medium-sized businesses. If you don't know whether or not you're vulnerable, I bet you are. You need to call Michael and Alpha and Omega at 615-784-0096, 784-0096, or go to online to a&o.net. That's a&o.net. Hey, Rodney writes in, before we get to the phones and our Murphy Show hotline with Representative Jeremy Faison, Rodney writes in and says, hey, Matt, I just heard your weather report. No rain in the forecast. You might want to look outside and tell me that that's not rain. I just got soaked. Within 3 minutes, you need to check your weather guy and tell him, look, don't talk to me. It's not Matt's weather report. No, that's somebody else's weather report. You know who I blame? I blame, let's see, do I blame Ken Weaver or do I blame Jackson?
My fault.
Bell. Bell took responsibility. It's Bell's K's fault on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thanks for taking that for us, Bell. Bell's going to take the shot there from you, Rodney. It's Bell's weather report, and it's Bell's fault that it's raining on you. There.
Yeah, we got some heavy rain that has popped up right now.
Yeah, we got it over here.
And it wasn't expected.
Yeah, I know. It's odd. I mean, I get this. My grandma used to call this heat rain, Ken.
Oh, heat rain.
That's what she would call it if it was real hot and steamy and just one of those thunder boomers pops up as a result. She would call it heat rain. So I guess that's what we're dealing with. I was pulling up the. We got one right on top of Nashville.
By golly.
If you're in downtown Nashville, you're probably getting rained on just a little bit, or you're about to be.
All the way down there to Berry Hill.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at that right. Yeah, Berry
Nolensville.
Hill,
Woo.
almost to the zoo down there.
I don't think they had a chance to pre-treat the roads.
Hope. Woodbine. Hey, if you're in Woodbine, find your safe place. You're getting rained on. Y'all know how it goes. All right, let's go to the phones and talk to our good friend Representative Jeremy Faison, who joins us on the show. To sadly talk about several incidences of individuals not being able to comport themselves in a model of civilized society. Representative Faison, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Matt. I am well. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing great, my friend, and I appreciate you so much being on top of this situation very, very quickly. It's sad that we have to talk about this, but some folks don't know how to act in civilized society, it seems. It would seem to me that an act of an assassination, an act of political violence along these lines would kind of mandate for most of us, and I think it does for most of us, that this is beyond the pale, and all this deserves is prayers for the family, and let's figure out how we can better protect our citizenry. But sadly, the assistant dean at MTSU didn't feel that way. Tell the folks a little bit about this and what has happened at Middle Tennessee State University.
So, Matt, what I want you and your listener, and obviously you know this because you know me and you know many of us in the legislature, the majority of us in the legislature will literally fight for you to have the right to cuss us, to say whatever your grievances are against the legislature. We get that. It's part of the territory. And for the most part, I am 100% for the First Amendment. What I am not for, and nobody in our legislature, except maybe the Democrats or the left, is for you celebrating the assassination of a political opponent. That you've gone past your First Amendment right, especially if you are in authority over a young mind, over our college students, and you're going to have the audacity to celebrate or say he had it coming or whatever you want to do to enter into your little demonic celebration, that's a problem that the taxpayers of Tennessee should not have to pay for you to be able to espouse that kind of hate. So we immediately, Speaker Sexton, Leader Lambert, myself, we immediately took action, made appropriate phone calls and said, listen, Sidney, this needs to be looked at. And thankfully, Sidney is a good guy, he's a good leader, and he took the appropriate steps. Found out the same thing happened at ETSU. I have 2 children there. My son called me today and said, Dad, you will not believe what a professor has said at ETSU. Looked it up, sent it to Dr. Nolan. Now, here's the crazy thing, Matt. This guy's celebrating the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, this professor, but he's tenured. It's way past time that the taxpayers of Tennessee need to quit paying for the automatic and determined job for however long they want it for a professor who behaves like that. So you'll see something happen with that this year as well.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, what does that mean, for the layman out there when you hear, oh, this professor was tenured? Does that mean that it's much more difficult to remove this person or fire them?
Absolutely. So when I talked to Dr. Nolan today, he said, Jeremy, we have immediately placed him on administrative leave. He has been removed from the campus. He said our attorneys are looking at this to make sure that we have calls that we can let him go. But the policies and the way contracts are written up behind tenure, a professor really has to be derelict and almost criminal before they can let him go. So it's got to go up for a full review. He's got to have a hearing, all this stuff. Why do you have to have a hearing? If your social media has entered into the celebration of the murder of an innocent human, you don't need to have a hearing. We see it right there, black and white, what you said. So we need to make sure if you are a professor or a dean and you have influence over children and the people of Tennessee are paying for your job, you ought to lose your job really quick if you're that crazy to say something foolish like what these professors and deans have said.
Well, and for me, and I understand that in these 2 circumstances, it involves taxpayer money, and so I'm glad that people like you, Jeremy Faison, and leadership in the House, and folks like Cameron Sexton, William Lambert are on top of this because it involves our money. But, some are wondering, well, hey, wait a minute, I thought we had freedom of – look, you have freedom of speech as long as you're not directly threatening someone or violating someone's rights. At the same time, you don't have freedom from consequences, no matter your employer.
Correct.
And in this case, the people of the state of Tennessee are the employers of these individuals at these universities. Am I right, Jeremy?
100%. And we all understand that universities are a liberal bastion. We get it. Wish it wasn't that way, but it is that way. But at least at a bare minimum, respect life in such a way that you don't enter into a celebration of somebody else's murder. And I think that's what the taxpayers of Tennessee expect of our professors.
So last night, I know that you were on social media discussing this. I was as well. But just to make sure that folks know, the MTSU president, Sidney McPhee, wrote this. An MTSU employee today offered inappropriate and callous comments on social media concerning the horrific and tragic murder of Charlie Kirk. The comments by this employee, who worked in a position of trust directly with students, were inconsistent with our values and have undermined the university's credibility and reputation with our students, faculty, staff, and community at large. This employee has been fired effective immediately. We extend our deepest sympathies to the Kirk family. Good for McPhee. Good for you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
What do you – I mean, what I don't understand, I mean, I understand that they're liberal people. I understand that they have a perception perhaps – that their social media platforms are somehow separate and distinct from their roles, in this case at MTSU. But you and I well know that just about any contract that you enter into at any organization would dictate that if you do something to harm the reputation of said organization, that punishment could come your way. And frankly, we're a right-to-work state anyway. That said, I just don't understand the mentality of people that would take to social media and say such awful things and have this belief that there is not going to be a consequence on the other side of it.
Yeah, can we just acknowledge the fact that Charlie Kirk is one of the men who went in and actually handed a microphone to these people?
Right.
The godless left that killed him, he's one of the only people who went into the belly of the beast and say, hey, I'll give you an audience. You got thousands of people. Take your best shot with whatever words or policies or thoughts you have, and let's debate it. What a beautiful thing he did. And they could not beat him in debate, so they killed him. And then these bastard professors can't stand that fact, and they're going to celebrate the death of a man who literally gave a microphone to their people. My gosh, how callous and evil can you be to celebrate the death of this guy who gave a microphone to your little students and your disciples? Shame on you.
And we sadly have yet another one. We have this incident involving the assistant dean at MTSU, then the professor at Eastern Tennessee State University, and now I'm seeing that apparently there's a professor of English at Cumberland University by the name of Michael Rex who is saying much the same. And so this is yet another instance of this type of thing happening, right there in Lebanon. And I would expect the same result from this third situation where, you know what, you can think however you want to think, and in a lot of ways you can say whatever you want to say, but you don't have to work here.
Matt, I'm going to just tell your listeners the bio on Professor Andrew Herman at ETSU. This is what his bio says. Geek, writer, research. This is what freaked me out. Enemy within. The leftist professor your pastor warned you about. He called himself the enemy within and the leftist professor your pastor warned you about. And that's what our taxpayer money is paying for? Where's the civil discourse in that? Where's the honest and open debate in a professor who has charge over young minds that comes at that like that? How about the students like my son who's an open Christian? How does he feel taking that guy's class? Is there any freedom for somebody like my son to go in and take a class there as him as the professor? We can do better. We can do better.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. It's my understanding, and I've just seen, somebody just sent me, this last professor that I mentioned, this Michael Rex or Mick Rex, who posted, and I'm not going to read what he posted because it's awful, regarding the death of Charlie Kirk. But just today, he has now apologized, saying no one deserves to be murdered. Yesterday, I made a comment about it. I didn't think about the ramifications of my words, nor do I intend to cause anyone any pain. I feel like it's too little too late. Now the guy's trying to save his job. You've already told us who you are, and I don't think we need you as a leader of young minds at a university. What do you say, Jeremy?
Yeah, you're all over the truth. And Matt, first, let's just say thank you for speaking truth and being on this. As soon as I tweeted about that last night, you were on it. You're paying attention. What's sad to me is that makes you a target to the left because you're willing to boldly proclaim and speak truth. And they know the lies can't overdo a truth. And you're speaking truth. And you're a target. Anybody who wants to speak truth is a target to these leftists. Can we just say something? Have we noticed that nobody burnt down any cities last night?
That's right.
Nobody has looted. Nobody destroyed any businesses. Nobody went to a fire department or a police department and set it on fire. Nobody acted like a complete damn fool last night. Imagine if it was somebody else on the Democrat side who got shot by a conservative activist. They would have burnt the country down last night. That should tell you who we're dealing with right there. And if that's your party that wants to go and burn your own place down after something happens that you don't like, that ought to tell you you're in the wrong party.
Well spoken. There's Representative Jeremy Faison. Thank you for coming on with us on short notice and speaking your mind on this issue. We appreciate you very much, Jeremy, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Yes, sir. Blessings.
All right. Take care. Here's the deal. I want to make real clear that y'all hear this before we go to break, and I know we got to get to break. I'm in the free speech business. I believe in the ability for people to speak their mind. Freedom of speech does not come without consequence. If I say something that is out of bounds for this radio company, I will be fired. And if someone who works for a university or works for a business says something publicly that is out of bounds, it is perfectly permissible for those businesses or those universities to fire them too. You get to live and you get to say what you want to say. Nobody's locking you in jail. But the bottom line is there are consequences for speech above and beyond what the government cannot do. It's 54 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for USS, which stands for United Structural Systems. Look, the foundation of your home is kind of important. I think you probably know that, right? The foundation of your house means everything, because if you don't have that foundation in place and as it should be, then nothing else matters, and your home is in danger, and the health of your family could be in danger, because without a solid foundation, you could be letting mold, moisture, mildew come into the home, or actual water come into the home. That's why foundation repair and waterproofing go hand in hand, and USS is so great at what they do. Homeowners simply trust USS. Since 1994, that's over 30 years, they have satisfied over 30,000 of their residential customers. And you could be the next one by calling 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855 for our friends at USS, or online at USSTN.com.
College officials, professors, and even an assistant dean celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And now at least one lawmaker is calling for some legislation to do something about those tenured professors. That's coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ken Weaver, that's happening in just moments from now as we are live from the City Winery. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project Patriot Awards dinner is tonight. They're getting set up for that dinner right now. You might hear some music from time to time in the background as they're getting ready to celebrate our Patriots, to remember those lost, and to figure out where we're going moving forward. We're doing a lot of things, juggling a lot of balls, not the least of which is remembering 9/11/2001. We'll continue to do that. Take your telephone calls in the second hour. We've been very, very busy in the first hour, so we're going to try to focus on some of your telephone calls in hour number 2. Don't forget, we got 3 hours today, and then the final hour of the show from 6 to 7, as we're going to be a part of the Patriot Awards dinner, will be a replay of our first hour from yesterday. Just want to remind you of all of that. We'll get to your texts and your calls coming up next, and tell you where we are regarding this press conference that is expected out of Utah at some point this afternoon. We'll give you the latest developments on all of that right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Charlie Kirk assassination. The FBI now offering a $100,000 reward leading to the arrest of the killer. It comes after the FBI released clear surveillance images of the man they say is their suspect, showing him with a hat on, sunglasses, some kind of American flag, long-sleeved T-shirt. Here's Alex Stone.
According to sources, a spent cartridge was still chambered in the bolt-action rifle when it was found in the woods, and 3 unspent cartridges contained wording on them expressing what some law enforcement officials described as transgender and anti-fascist ideology. The FBI has taken the gun for DNA analysis and fingerprints. According to preliminary information shared with agencies, the rifle was wrapped in a towel when it was found in the woods near the campus.
Now, here in Middle Tennessee, the assistant dean at Middle Tennessee State University has been fired for comments she posted on social media following Kirk's assassination. Channel 4's Amber Giant reports.
MTSU's president said this was a difficult decision to make, but he says the assistant dean's comments undermined the work and the mission of the institution, so he had to let her go.
That's Laura Sosh Lightsey, who posted, quote, "Hate begets hate. Looks like old Charlie spoke his fate into existence. No sympathy." Meanwhile, in East Tennessee, we just learned from Cosby Republican State Rep Jeremy Faison, who tells WTN's Matt Murphy Show, a professor at East Tennessee State University who celebrated Kirk's assassination has been suspended, but can't be fired because that professor is tenured.
This guy's celebrating the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, this professor, but he's tenured. It's way past time that the taxpayers of Tennessee need to quit paying for the automatic and determined job for however long they want it for a professor who behaves like that. So you'll see something happen with that this year as well.
Dr. Andrew F. Herman has been a professor at ETSU since at least 2011. And now a report that a professor at Cumberland University had to apologize for a post celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. And while the nation remembers the September 11th attacks, people are also reflecting on how the horrific events united the country.
In Lower Manhattan, as bells tolled, marking the 9/11 attacks and honoring the victims, the hustle and bustle of life and work continued. Steve Goulet, who commuted on the ferry today from New Jersey, reflected on the moment 24 years ago. He was one of the passengers on board planes that were diverted to Newfoundland. Goulet says he was struck how the city and nation came together then and how divisive the world is now, including yesterday's shooting death of Charlie Kirk.
The extremism from both sides concerns me. It's a different world, unfortunately, and sometimes I wish we could go back to the way we kind of came together as a country after 9/11.
Michelle Franzen, ABC News, New York.
That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Right now, we've got a massive backup in Brentwood. It is northbound 65. You've got the right lane blocked by a crash. It's backed up all the way to Cool Springs Boulevard. Then in Woodbine, a crash on the right shoulder, 440 eastbound at Nolensville Pike. And in Madison, a crash is partially blocking the off-ramp from 65 northbound to Old Hickory Boulevard. In Murfreesboro, we've got debris in the left lane, 24 eastbound just past Medical Center Parkway, exit 76. I'm Ken Weaver.
We are on location, and every time Bell K tells me that I'm going hot, I feel like he's telling me that I am hot. And I'm like, I already know that. One way or the other, it's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't really believe that. It is Thursday. It is September 11. It is episode 882 of our gatherings together. All right, I got some breaking news that's happening right now. We're on location at the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards Dinner at City Winery, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. We were hoping to get a couple of guests on this hour. I don't know if that's going to happen, but what we are going to do is open up the phone lines to your telephone calls about Charlie Kirk, your telephone calls about 9/11, your telephone calls, some of the reaction coming out of the sad, disgusting response social media-wise by some prominent individuals in our community, to include an assistant dean at MTSU, a professor at ETSU. There's one from Cumberland University that's profusely apologizing today after running his mouth on social media last night. So we're going to open up the phone lines in just a moment at 615-737-9986 on that. Breaking news coming out moments ago, FBI Director Kash Patel is saying that, hold on a second. No. This is not moments ago. This is from last night. My apologies. This popped back up in my feed. I was about to give you some information that is fairly old. So what we do know, and I'll just follow up on this, there were two persons of interest that were apprehended yesterday. One was on site. That's the older man, white hair, balding on the top, white ring of hair on the sides. He was, you saw the video. He's a blue shirt. He's on his knees. He was in custody. He was questioned, released. He was questioned based on some of the things he was saying in the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Secondarily, there was another person that was arrested in Provo, which is about 10 minutes away from the Utah Valley campus. That person had a long gun of some sort. And he was eventually questioned and released. Utah authorities have delayed a press conference regarding the investigation into the assassination of Kirk due to what they have referred to as rapid developments in their investigation. The press conference was originally scheduled to begin 12:45 local time. Utah's Mountain Time, so that would be 1:45 Middle Tennessee time. The Utah Department of Public Safety announced the change about an hour before the briefing was to begin. They said, due to the rapid developments in our investigation, we will suspend this. We will release an updated time later, and they have yet to do so. And now it is 3:12 Utah time, 4:12 obviously, Middle Tennessee time. So other than that, what we have learned is that the assassin has been described as, quote, college age by officials from the FBI and the Utah Department of Public Safety, that they're looking for someone along those lines. Officials have recovered what they've described as a high-powered bolt-action rifle and have obtained their words, good video footage of the shooter who jumped from a building and fled off campus into a neighborhood, leaving behind at some point this bolt-action rifle. if it is of the sort, I don't know, several of you on social media and some of you on the super text line have indicated that we have I'm sorry, I got distracted there for a moment. Matt is hot on the mic. It's crackling coming in on the streaming. Okay, I sound good to me. And 3075, please someone, 200 feet or 200 yards, big damn difference. Well, I understand that we want these answers. I believe that it's 200 yards. We heard 200 yards from the beginning. He was on a rooftop there. That would be more reasonable than 200 feet, right? 200 feet's two-thirds of a football field, roughly. 200 yards would be 2 football fields. So there's a considerable difference. But if you're using – I know my grandfather had a Winchester Model 70 Heavy that I wish I still had. It was a bolt-action 30-06. That was his deer hunting rifle. And he taught me to hunt deer with that rifle. Now, I eventually moved over to a Winchester lever-action 30-30. But that said, that Winchester Model 70 Heavy, and the Heavy is a barrel designation, you could easily kill a deer at 300 yards. I mean, and I'm not a very good shot, and as long as you understand the drop that's going to occur over that range, I mean, it was not that I am not a good rifle shot, and it is not that difficult of a shot. All of that to say, I've heard a lot of folks go, is it 200 feet, is it 200 yards? Someone with a reasonable ability to shoot a rifle can make a shot from 200 yards. I don't mean to be too graphic, but it would make sense to me, and I'm trying to mitigate the graphic nature of what I'm about to say. Even if they didn't account for the drop of the bullet, it would make sense if you were trying to hit Charlie Kirk in the head.